Okay. So how do you define yourself as a leader?
Oh, wow. Hit me with a big one there. Um, well, I guess it depends, how you take the question. Is it your style of leadership, what you try to do, or is it what you lead in? And I think there's probably all of those elements in it. I try and surround myself with the best people, the brightest, the hardest working people that who can contribute to it. There's also an element of there's got to be that trust piece of I can't do all the work. I mean, that's a tough thing to learn in your beginning of your executive sort of journey is I have to delegate and I have to give people the room to run with things, coach, guide as much as you can, but you've got to have the people that will pick up the ball and run with it. So, building the team is probably just as important as any defined approach to leadership that you want to have. For me, I mean, there's absolutely some self understanding and growth that needs to come from it. I had to learn to listen more and wait before I provided my opinion because I would bias the room if I said what I thought early on. Because you want all those ideas and them generating those ideas and saying, being free to say what they think. And then it's still the role of the leader to, okay, let's go through it, let's analyze it, what will work, what won't work, here's why. It also took a while to not just shut down conversations. It was to say, okay, I don't think this is the way to go, but here's why. Be it because we've done this before, we've experienced this, we've tried this, and we couldn't solve for this, and give those explanations, and to reaffirm that your thinking is great, but that's just an impediment within the organization or industry or what have you that we haven't figured out how to bust through. If you figure out how to solve for this, then that's a great idea, and we'll go with it. Obviously, you try and um, model yourself after some of the leaders that you've had yourself.
Mhm.
I've been fortunate to have two or three that were really, really good. One of them, if you phone me tomorrow and said, David, I'm starting something, come with me. I'm quitting and I'm going. Follow him to to wherever he was going. Others, you take the nuggets. Sometimes you look for it and you realize, oh, that's what they meant. That's why they were doing what they were doing. It didn't necessarily like the way they did it, but I get it now. So you build up, um, or I should say build up. You build a leader persona and an approach.
Mhm.
It's about listening. It's about having the right people around you. It's about explaining your ideas. In certain areas of what I do, I've had a tendency to jump from A to C or D. You've got to take people on the journey and explain it. And if they're not quite getting it, I may have to explain it two or three different ways to ensure that they understand where I'm coming from. Not that I'm right, but just that they understand it. And then we can have those constructive conversations to decide on direction. So, I think your style changes based on situation, but you've got to have all these tools: how to listen, how to lead, when to lead and go, nope, we've got to do this, and when to go, that's great. Let's change direction and go with that. And to always show that you're approachable and are flexible. Um, as you go through some of your training, you learn that you can't just jump on the first idea. You learn that. As a leader, you'll never have enough information to make the right decision. So you always reserve the right to change direction when I get more information. But here's where we've got to start. You've got to put that stake in the ground and move things forward. That analysis to paralysis thing is very true, and we can spin our wheels forever. But oh, it's not quite right. Something's not right. Well, nothing ever gets done that way. And then there's the little things that you have to recognize. I need, I personally like a fair bit of pressure and deadlines to get me going. If I have too much time, then I've got too many things. And it's learning how to focus on those and how to execute. And the idea is great, but if we don't actually execute and deliver on something, then we're not really accomplishing much. It's always about, getting to done, but it's taking that team with you. I know I've just hit about seven different, seven different things, but that's sort of what jumps to mind with that question.
Now, do you feel that you planned your success? Did you have a plan that you wrote down and followed?
I would say on the whole, no. No, it wasn't luck. I certainly created opportunities,
Mhm.
but it wasn't, I don't think it was ever really the plan. Going into university from high school, I wanted to be a lawyer. Go through university, I was introduced to the music business. I wanted to be in the music business. Then I thought, oh, I'll just go to law school. Well, no, you didn't do the things you needed to do to get to that. Um, uh, my first job out of university after graduating into a recession, I did whatever I could to make ends meet, pay for my car. I worked for an insurance company, a courier, delivered pizzas. This first real job was back working at my university for the Alumni Association, and one of the programs I managed was the school's Mastercard. So with the McMaster Mastercard. Well, that was my door into banking. I didn't see that coming. I wanted to be in rock and roll and manage bands, and I wound up in banking. And it's from there I stayed in. I definitely had a view of I want to stay in financial services, but I wound up getting into payments within a few years. A virtual bank when Bank of Montreal launched M Banks in the mid 90s. I just kept moving along that way. So I've wound up in a career in payments, which is within financial services, but it was never the plan. No one ever wants to be in payments.
Mhm.
Um, everything else was very much network based. I've applied for two jobs in my entire career. The first one was getting that job at the Alumni Association. And there was one in the middle of it when a friend had suggested you'd be great for this. And I went and wound up working for Visa to work on the Olympics in Vancouver. Otherwise, it's all been through network. It's all been, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know anything about that. And
Mhm.
you jump in with both feet. So uh, high level, financial services.
Mhm.
Plan? No, it's
Yeah.
just happened.
Now, if I asked you what is your one greatest strength or attribute from a leadership perspective, what would you say that is?
That's tough. I think it's probably the attitude that I would bring to it, or that I do bring to it. Uh, you know, uh, Lots of energy, always happy and laughing and trying to build up that team spirit. And that just leads to the ability to do a lot of the things that we do. You're always looking for a way to break through barriers and things like that. So if you summarize it as one thing, it's just having a can-do attitude, I think.
If you go back 10 years in your career, is there a specific attribute that has really changed compared to today?
Yeah. Um, I was far more hands-on and doing,
Mhm.
and it's become far more of leading. As I kind of said before, it's giving people the opportunity to run with things.
Mhm.
They have to have. I had a boss who used to say, "I'll give you enough rope to hang yourself, but I'll never let you actually do it."
Mhm.
And that kind of stuck with me. And it's learning to let go.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot because there's a way you like things done, be it personally or the organization, what have you. And it's passing on those things, but letting people do it. I get more done with all of us doing and moving in the same direction than me stopping and going, okay, I'll do that. No, I'll look after this. And you can't do it all. There's too much for any
Mhm.
one person. And it was never a control freak. It was just as you're going up, you've been the doer. Well, you reach a leadership position where you're no longer the doer, you're the leader.
Mhm. I like that. It's a great reminder, right? As well.
Oh, and it's difficult.
Yeah.
I expect it. Presentations and writing are particular things for me.
Mhm.
It's not that everyone can't write as well as I do, or not that I'm a fantastic writer, but there's stylistically, or there's just certain elements that I'm picky about. And you got to let go of some of those things. Now I'll go in and absolutely we'll make changes, but I can't write every deck. I
Right.
can't give every presentation or all parts of a presentation. You've got to learn to delegate to your team. and
Mhm.
and that's not a bad thing, but it's a tough lesson And it's usually that first promotion when you move up to a certain level of management that you can't do that. We've moved you up because you've been great at doing those things. Now lead other people into doing them.
Mhm. Now, what motivates you as a leader the most?
Probably two parts to that. Personally, it's I always want to be learning. I always want to try new things. I like those challenges. And that probably drifts over into being a leader. I want to take the team on that journey. I want to see my people succeed and grow. I want to see them have all of that experience and be recognized as this person is great at this or that, and they've got a lot of potential and talent. We'd like to take them away from you and put them on this and let them lead their own things. So it's be it personally or team wise, it's growth,
Mhm.
right? And it's that constant evolution because you can't stand still. It doesn't work, and we've seen you can get caught in old ways and old styles, and you'll be left behind. And this is it's becoming even more and more true. Things are just moving too quickly for you to stand still. So it's
Mhm.
how can I get everyone moving forward and be their best selves?
This goes nicely into my next question is, what advice would you give the next generation of leaders?
Oh, there's so many nuggets to share.
Mhm.
I think if you look at, I want to stay away from any stereotypes. We tend to still put things into people with more experience or less experience. We tend to use young versus old sort of terms. uh, I think it's the recognition that everyone's got some form of experience. Everyone's got some form of knowledge and understanding that's not necessarily related to age, but it is experience. And others, it's the way their mind works. You'll see how they quickly grasp concepts, or they can take in and manage, large amounts of information or data, or have understanding of many components of a business. And I think the key is to find those people, find strengths, and help others. I don't want to say fill in the gaps, but
Mhm.
add to their knowledge. If they're
Right.
really good at one specific thing, get them out of their comfort zone and spread it a bit. I think actually here's the nugget. Uh, I think we're becoming too specialized. I think it's good to have a specialty, but I think we need to be more general, a generalist in many ways, so that you have a broader view. If you're too specialized, you're in the silo, you can't see the bigger picture, or you can't see how you're contributing to other pieces or how other pieces are feeding into yours. You only know your silo, as it were.
Mhm.
It's that holistic, and this is probably something, particularly in my recent years as a consultant, it's having that holistic view. It's not that you're only the top can do it. Everyone's got to have a view of where are we trying to go, what are we trying to accomplish, and what are all the pieces, and where is my piece fit in. So I would say it's making sure everyone understands not just their role, but how they fit, and that there is a bigger picture and there is a plan to it.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, that's a great nugget because I think people have shifted towards moving into highly specialized roles. But what I hear you saying is it's not that you can't be specialized, but your mindset around understanding what you're achieving needs to still be like a generalist. You need to be holistic.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and there's absolutely room for people who want to do. This is what I want to do. I don't want to do those other things. They're highly specialized. Well, they have a very specific role. Don't
Mhm.
expect to be leading a group or a big team beyond what you're doing today, if that's your focus. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want. I learned something working in call centers
Mhm.
or around call centers in our industry. People in call centers tend to be new. They often they're young, they're straight out of school. It doesn't pay a lot. It's a good starting point, but the churn in them is huge, right? You're constantly turning over people. The other end of the spectrum is when these are customer service, you're dealing with nothing but complaints usually, or people with problems. The other end is there's people who are finishing their career or have spent a career in support, and they're worth their weight in gold because they've got this patience, they've got the knowledge, and they're quite happy answering phones. Whereas on the younger end, when they're new to it, oh, I aspire to better than this. This is a crap job. I don't want to be doing this. And it sort of, it relays itself, but it's the reality of you've got either end. There is nothing wrong to aspiring to being excellent at customer service and dealing with the crap complaints from customers and their problems and helping them solve it. That's, I would, I'll take that every day of the week to find those people. But it's also a place where you start because you get that initial view of, oh, this is what it's like on the front line with customers, right? And that's the beginning of, oh, that's important to have. If you watch larger organizations, you'll see when they've highlighted top talent, they'll move them to a certain point and then they'll shift them into something else. In the banking world, you're working at headquarters, you're doing whatever, technology or the business side, they'll all of a sudden push you out in the line and you're working in a branch because they want you to know what it's like there, because that's the core of the business. Everything else either feeds to or from that. So next thing you know, you're an executive out working in the division and learning, credit limits for lending, which was not what you have done inside. But you can't be a rounded executive until you've done all that, and then we can continue moving you higher.
Right. Now, what is the one thing in your career that makes you the most proud?
I've actually had a lot of those. I would say that there's been lots of different things. Just off the top of my head, me personally, I've worked on some very cool initiatives or products and service, new things. I'd love to be on the innovative end of introducing. They don't have to be like life altering, but if it helps the business, it helps the customers, delivering on new services and products, that innovation piece. And I've been very lucky to do that at just about every job I've had.
Okay.
Now, if you want to step into anything specific, I had the role of a lifetime for 2 years. I worked on the Olympics. I was in Beijing learning everything we could about the Summer Games in 2008, and I ran the payment network for the Vancouver Games. I saw everything from behind the scenes at the Vancouver Olympics. And I mean, it was an amazing time. I had to move my family out to Vancouver. But I was there behind the scenes, looking from behind the curtain, watching gold medals get won, and the the happiness that comes with victories and the sadness that comes with defeats and everything in between. It was just chance in a once in a lifetime sort of opportunity. So that was particularly memorable for me, and I'm proud of that. But overall, I would say it's that innovation piece.
Um, Now, what do you think is the role of a leader, or what should it be when it comes to diversity and inclusion at the workplace?
I wish I could say it shouldn't be something that we even have to think about. It just happens, but it does. I think we've had more and more corporate. How do I put it? We've seen more and more focus from corporations, companies, putting policies in place. We've seen more and more groups promoting within companies at the staff levels. Uh, I think we have to ensure that we have an open mind, that we don't have any of our traditional personal or corporate biases. It's you take the best person for the job. Now, I mean, without getting into equity type conversations, but you hire the best people, but there has to be an emphasis on more women at higher ranks, more people of color and different ethnic backgrounds, and all of those things. I would say the industry I'm in has been pretty diverse at a general level, but it's the promoting and having more diversity at the higher levels that it has to be better.
Mhm,
It's I mean, they're on the right track, but there has to be more.
mhm,
I know ourselves, we have diversity and inclusion groups that run activities in our little group and unit. uh, there has to be the ability for sharing of knowledge and ideas and understanding. I think one of the things we maybe take for granted is that everyone understands, what racism or ageism or sexism looks like in the workplace, but I'm not sure everyone does.
Mhm.
And to be able to, at least read, be it sort of newsletters or in better yet, in-person conversations, and we've done quite a number of presentations and workshops to actually hear some of these stories or have them presented as case studies to
Mhm.
understand it. Because as I said, we like to think we all understand it and know what it looks like and then know how to react and do the right thing. I don't think we can ever hear enough so that
Mhm.
we truly understand it, because it takes different forms. And
Mhm.
in the end, as I've kind of repeated myself, it's we have to promote these ideals, and you
Mhm.
have to be very vigilant about it, and it's got to be taken very seriously. And when the lines are crossed or there's issues, they have to be dealt with swiftly,
Mhm.
and sometimes they can be severe,
Mhm.
but that's part of what has to go on. But generally, I would say we have to take every opportunity, not only to be inclusive,
Mhm.
and to ensure that we are being as diverse as possible, but it's to see the promotion of that talent.
Mhm. Yep. Now, was there any specific obstacle you faced in your career that you go back and look at and say, wow, that was a formative moment for me as a leader?
I don't know if there was necessarily obstacles,
Mhm.
but there were definitely two or three learning situations
Mhm.
where uh, I thought I had a handle on something, and I made a decision that made sense in my head and with others around me. And then next layer up went, "What are you thinking?
Mhm.
What do you mean? What have I done? Well, you've just given away something without getting something in return, or you've just committed us to something without this, and this being in place." And it was just some of it. There was an element of I should have thought of it in one of the situations, but in the other two, I didn't have that knowledge.
Mhm.
And looking back, two of them, it was I put myself into that position, thinking it
Mhm.
was doing the right thing, and the other one, I think I got sort of I wound up in that position and I had no help. But in all three of them, there was a lot of learning coming out of it. It was mistakes. They weren't severe. They were fixable, but they were mistakes that school didn't prepare me for. Although there was elements of, oh, I should have known that. And as a young leader, I was in a position where I wasn't having to run it past people above me,
Mhm.
or run it past anyone who would have gone, oh, that's a problem. Don't do that.
Mhm.
So there's absolutely, failure or mistakes bring learning. So I wouldn't say there was any obstacle, but there's definitely been two or three of these situations, and they've come at different times. The last
Mhm.
one when I thought I should have known better, but it was you just find yourself in those situations, and they happen, and you've got to go, I will never make that mistake again.
Mhm. Now, do you have a leadership credo that you follow?
I don't know if I have one specific to leadership.
Mhm.
Um, the way I function or operate within my teams, yeah, there's probably a few, catchphrases that I've picked up along the way. But I would say the main thing is probably around alignment and motivation.
Mhm.
Um, I try to have as much fun as possible. I'm a, I've been accused of times of, oh, you guys got to stop fooling around. You're having too much fun. But they're all work-related discussions, and yes, we can get loud and boisterous.
Mhm.
But I can be as serious as we need to be, but we don't have to be that serious all the time.
Mhm.
We can get into very serious situations and conversations, and I have no problem with those. But
Mhm.
I don't have to walk around with a frown on my face and, scowl and being serious all the time. It's got to be a fun environment. We've got to get to know each other. We've got to have that trust. You've got to have that camaraderie.
Mhm.
Um, and something like this pandemic has proven work is not the be all and end all, and it shouldn't be. There's more important things there, and you start to appreciate that. So I like to go through it with a laugh and a smile, and having a good time until we have to be serious.
Mhm. Okay. Now, is there a specific leadership book that you would recommend that I read?
I've read so many, I probably don't remember the names of many of them. I did quite a bit of change management early in my career. So there were books like Who Moved My Cheese that had some nuggets. There was a number of the change management books. Uh, no, I don't know if any one book. I mean, you read things by Drucker, you read the Harvard Business Review, you pick up and glean these things. I think um, there's no one book that jumps out at, well, it's not one that jumps out at me, but I don't think there's one that's universally
Mhm,
fantastic. I think you just have to constantly be reading these, and then you'll find one that resonates with you.
mhm.
If I thought about it some more, I could probably come up with a list, but no, there isn't one that jumps out at me right away.
Okay.
And I hate the fact that the one I did quote was Who Moved My Cheese, because I had other change management people that went, oh, that's a horrible book. But it was,
Mhm,
it's resonated with me. It's there was things that have stayed with me. Obviously, I've remembered it, and it could have been just because I enjoyed it, thought it was funny.
mhm. Yeah. But I think the key that you mentioned is that everyone will find one that resonates a lot to them, right? Depending on the type of where you are in your career or your style, but it's finding that it'll be different for
Yeah,
everyone.
and it's probably been 3 or 4 years
Mhm,
since I last picked up a management book
mhm,
or was looking for more. Yeah, I haven't touched one in a few years, and I haven't felt the need to go looking for more for
mhm.
that. So yeah, the books. Some people, live and breathe and just swear by them, think that they're fantastic. I think I look at them as tools, and they can be of interest, or they could be just nighttime reading.
Okay. Now, if you ever have an opportunity to write a book, what would it be about, or what would you call it?
I've thought about that a few times, but you I think it's similar to investing. You write about
Mhm,
what you know, and I don't know how interesting banking and payments would be to anyone on the outside. But if I did write a book, it would be about some of the what appear to be complex but are actually rather simple things of the way money works, from you and your wallet to how money gets moved at a national level,
mhm,
um, because they're applicable. There's been projects I've worked on where we went, oh, now I understand what happened in economics 101 in my first year of university. I get macro versus micro now, where at the time it was just a chart that did this, supply and demand.
yeah.
But I've worked on things at a country level that I could write a book about the banking system and leaning into financial literacy that I would give to my girls to go, look, this is how it works.
Right.
Put money in the bank. This is what it means. This is what a business does. This is what it means. This is what happens at a country level. This is what it means.
Mhm,
Um, yeah, and title wise, uh, no, there isn't a title for it yet, but it'd be something along the lines of money's not that complicated. It
mhm.
just takes a lot to know how to use it.
Right. Well, I like to read that one. Oh.
I should do it sometime. I mean, I'm writing more and more white papers and blogs that are going onto LinkedIn, and
Mhm,
I keep touching on these. I think the new one that would be helpful is probably around open banking, and what does it mean? Oh, everyone's going to share data. No, it's not what you think. They're not opening up the doors and just letting everyone have at it. This will be all about the services, the sharing of the data is not it is a means to offer new services and competition in the market.
mhm.
That's the probably the more relevant one that I probably should do.
Okay. Now, if you ever got an opportunity to be on the cover of the Times magazine, what would you like it to say?
Oh, wow. Well, if they can get a good picture of me. um Interesting. I don't know if I would want it to be about me and what I've done, but more about the work. Because I think what I pride myself on is having, as I kind of mentioned before, having worked on some really cool things and brought some innovation and some new ideas that have advanced my industry.
Mhm.
And I am not, this is not like a Stephen Jobs situation or someone who's changed the world. It's
Mhm.
not that. It's just those little incremental changes that make life easier
Mhm.
within my banking and payment space.
Mhm.
So the title would have to be something like that, just
Yeah.
edging or inching along.
Mhm. Okay. Now, if I could ask you for a quote that would be your legacy as a leader, what would that quote be?
There's a lot of things that I kind of have, and I found myself repeating, going, "Oh, I know where I got that one." The
Mhm.
boss that I used to shake my head when he said it. I don't think I have one particularly of my own,
Mhm.
but I've found relevance for a number of these sort of phrases that have shown up along my career.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, one that I don't like, but it's so true. Uh, well, the things we measure are the things that get done,
Mhm.
and that jumps out. And then my catchphrase for just about everything is always, well, where do you want to go? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Mhm.
And by that, it's got nothing to do with age. It's that end state. What are you trying to do?
Mhm.
And if you have to change, what are you trying to change into? So that's probably, and I don't know if it's necessarily specific to leadership, but it's
Mhm.
absolutely the way I approach things. Is I constantly say that to clients or to our own company and my team. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Mhm.
I know where you are now. Where are you trying to go? What's the journey you're on, and what's the end state? And you may
Mhm.
not have the answer, but you've got to start thinking, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yep.